Damn it! I forgot to make the intro. Okay, let's just put some targets and some bullets and some guns into it. This episode is going to be boring anyway, so good luck with that. So that's me once more on the ferry. We've already checked the internet and the weather is looking to be too good. Pressure should be right around 1000 or below, so the bullet will be pushed a little bit down and temperature should be right around our calibration. And the forecast says the wind should be coming in from the left this time, so that's the only novelty for today's shooting. This here is my preference for reading wind. They are very responsive, react very quickly, and if you look over there you can also see the waving motion which I mentioned in the last episode. So it's quite easy to distinguish 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 meters per second when you are looking at these trees. So this here, an occasional, it's not even waving, it's just a small movement. I would class this as half. So the moment we go up to 1, it's going to be a little waving, and when you go up to 2, all of this is going to wave, and when you switch to 3, you're going to see the light underside of the leaves and they will be pointing into the wind direction. That happens on 3. It's going to indicate the wind direction for you at 2.5, but it's on 3 where they turn fully. You can also take a wind reading of evergreens like this, but they are not going to be as responsive because they are stiffer. And you have the visible direction here, it's going to be more like a 5 because of the added stiffness. So by all means they give you an indication, but if you can use leaves, use leaves. And also we have to depart a little from the scheduled lesson plan because it appears that my scope mount is not behaving reliably, so we just have to check if it can stand up to recoil without letting the scope drift. So we're at the range, and once again the weather forecast seems to hold just perfect. We have the higher pressure pushing the bullet down, temperature is the same as the BDC, and the wind is in the light category and it comes in from the left. Now this is the zero check at 118, and as you can see it has shifted compared to last. It appears that we have a problem. Now I have re-zeroed the rifle, but we're not sure for how long that's going to hold. I do have a suspect, but I am as of yet unable to conclude that it really is the mount. So for this session, just put some white marks on the feet there and we're going to see if they move. But for now, it's going to be the long-range proficiency test, and I'll admit it's not the best way to start a test with an inherent insecurity in your system, but such is reality. And that's 1 minute going. Ah, fuck. Okay, recording. I think I will shave off quite a few seconds when I learn to start the trigger cam. Light wind in from the left. That worked just fine. Hopefully that was another clear demonstration that the simple methods do work. And even though I have a BDC on this turret, I have no problems accommodating the changing weather. Now we'll take out the Kestrel, and that's the temperature. And if we change to the pressure, 30 to 50 hectopascal change constitutes a significant change. And with a significant change, it means that it requires an action on my behalf, either adding or removing range on the turret, but only on the long ranges, which means anything beyond 400. On the inside, the changes in the trajectory is going to be so small that you most likely is not going to notice. And as always, if you are unable to complement this knowledge with the fundamental marksmanship. It's just theory, it's not going to do you anything good. But for now, we'll switch barrels and we'll put on a turret with the Emerald system. And since the lesson plan is disrupted, we're going to do a repetition. And once more, I'm going to show you ballistic calibration. That means verifying that your theoretical trajectory fits with reality.
This episode contains sponsored items. Before you go, subscribe, like, and comment. Click the bell if you want notifications of new episodes.
This is the 6.5 by 57R barrel, and if you remember, I shot this with a traditional scope. This is a Swarovski 7x50 premium scope, but as we have demonstrated, not well suited for the long range stuff. So we have replaced that with the Calus, and this is the same scope which I have on my 6.5 55 barrel. And the main difference here is that we have an adjustable turret, so it's very easy to keep track of the trajectory. So we'll just give the 388 target a go, and we'll shoot with exactly the same component which I have previously grievously missed. I use this. Okay, and some details before we start shooting. Now, this scope is not mounted level to the rifle itself, but rather when I am in the position and I'm holding the rifle correctly, that's what the scope is mounted level to. Håkan Spur made an excellent calculation showing what's what on this. I'll just put the numbers up on the screen. That is Spur of Spur mounts. Now anyway, back to the scope, and the second thing I do at the very rear is a small knob here. I basically just look up into the sky, I twist, get the reticle proper out of focus, and rapidly turn it into focus, and when it's sharp, I take a piece of tape and I secure this bit here. And when I look at the reticle, I look at the square parts, I'm not looking at the center aiming dots. And just a small piece of tape here, and this prevents it from moving. Now, back to the shooting. 388, the app suggests 22 clicks, or 2.2 emeralds. The benefit of being European is that emerald and clicks interchange on most scopes, so you don't have to make an effort to be cool. And I have not mounted a trigger cam, and that is to properly get the camera behind the scope so you can see how I click. So this reads 2.2, and that should be us ready for the 388 target. We have a light wind, and as usual it comes in from the right. The pressure today is higher, like we had on every other occasion, and we know that higher pressure will push the bullet down. But it is also significantly warmer. I can feel that where the sun is burning on my legs, I would have been sweating if I'm moving. That means it's right around 20, and the higher temperature is going to lift the impact. So I have one force that is pushing the bullet down, I have another one that is pushing it up, and both seem to be around one significant change, so they cancel each other out. So I'm not going to do anything to compensate for the elevation change in the trajectory. I'm just going to dial to range and shoot. Okay, let's see how that goes. So that's the target. Light wind in from the right, and the bullet should strike immediately next to the crosshair. Checking natural point of aim. The only change is to choose a better scope. The precision is already in the system. So clearly that worked, and what we've done now is to replace the turret here, which read in clicks or emerald, with what most people will call BDC a bullet drop compensator. And now, instead of having numbers, you know, 0 to 22, which was the case, or 2.2 MRAD on the previous turret, I can now just dial 388 and shoot to range. And the benefit of doing it this way, I don't have to go via a ballistic charge to find the firing solution. And as you saw, the only thing I have changed now is the way I am presenting the numbers or the values which I need to correct. Dialing and the shooting, everything else remains the same. And the calibration on this turret here is the same as it always is for me. 970 hectopascal and 12 degrees Celsius. We have significantly warmer weather, which pushes the bullet up, and we have significantly higher pressure, which pushes the bullet down. So we're back to square one. So I can dial exactly to range. And there you have it, exactly the same result. The benefit of this turret is that I don't have to go via a ballistic chart. So if you go back to a statement I made in one of the earlier episodes, what's on this turret is just a number with a name. It doesn't change the clicks, it doesn't change how you have to click, but having something that reads in range, meters in my case, is a fair bit easier than having to go via another system and decode the range that the laser gives me into another number with a different name. My laser reads in meters. It makes sense to have meters on the turret as well. And the statement that, well, a BDC only works in a specific weather, that's nonsense. That's 18 degrees. That's a significant change from the 12. Oh, it's actually 21 degrees. It's 1000 or 999.7, which is also a significant change from the 970 that I have here on the turret. So simply by choosing a different component in my rifle system, the performance just went through the roof. Now, a major part of the success and reliability of the demonstrations that I have shown you is choosing the right bullet. Now, I've simplified this in previous episodes and simply called it pointed bullets. And that is simply a code for using a bullet with a beneficial BC, which is just an aerodynamical shape to indicate how well the bullet will fly in wind. And also here it is possible to do the wrong choice. This is the 6.5 by 57R, and it gets its name because of the rim down here. Also you can see the case shape. It's more a slanting on the walls, and it's supposed to make for easier extraction and loading. And I can't say I've noticed anything to that regard. Both of these work equal. This is simply the cartridge I have because I bought this rifle secondhand, and that was the barrel. So as long as you choose the right bullet, these cartridges are going to do more or less the same. It is possible to do a poor choice, and I'll demonstrate what happens. This bullet here is actually marketed as being exceptionally high precision, but I simply don't see that. For comparison, everything else shoots like this. Disclaimer, it could of course be the combination that bullet and my rifle, but I doubt it. So even with a very light wind, I'm struggling to keep those bullets on the yellow vital area. Now if we go to the 6.5 57R and we compare this to the abysmal performance of the factory ammunition, or even this, you see that there is nothing wrong with the cartridge and cartridge design. So the only thing I've done here is to follow a very simple reloading procedure, and I've chosen a better bullet. So we have sorted the scope, we have sorted the ammunition, and we have a similar bullet in both types, and we should see similar performance at range. So for the moment this is only a short range performance, and I do not know the real trajectory at range. Now my ballistic app has a suggestion but until I verify it by actually observing impacts, I'm not going to trust it. So that's the procedure we'll do now. We'll do some calculations and check the calculation against reality. And if there is a discrepancy, we're going to correct that, put it into the app, and after that, the app will work just fine. So the app made a suggestion of 2 emeralds or 20 clicks. We'll check that. So adjusting the parallax, that's fine. Checking natural point of aim on the same spot. Wind comes in from the left, very weak. Okay, so that was no problem in terms of elevation, but this is short range, target is large, and you can still have errors in the trajectory. Now, if I want to do this properly, the target I need to shoot at is going to be 4 centimeters. That target is 15, so it's way bigger. And also, as you see, this turret here is really a mess. Way too many white lines, and I think an engineer has been involved in that design. That turret is a visual mess. So you want to clean up that turret, and for that job, I'm just going to use some black markers. So that's that fixed, and it's now a lot easier to read and dial quickly. Now we'll switch to the ballistic bar target, where the yellow line equals exactly 1 scope click. So I'm either going to be on or off, and it's a good target to compare the theory versus what actually happens. We'll just type in 608, theory says 4.5 emerald or 45 click, and that is now a bit easier to dial. Okay, let's shoot that target. I think it's pretty clear that the 4.5 emerald is never going to get my shots on the ballistic bar. So now we just walk the shots onto the bar, and by the looks of it, we can try 3 clicks. 1, 2, 3. And as always, check natural point of aim, close eyes, open eyes, and adjust the position. Because now we are seeking to remove every error possible from the shooter. I was marginally above the bar, so it was quite obvious that the suggested 4.5 did not work. So to correct that, I go back into the ballistic app, press the icon up here, and I do ballistic calibration. Now the 388 had 2.0 or 20 clicks, that worked fine, and the 608 had 48 clicks. I apply the calibration. I can set my weather to the default 970 and 12, and I can go back up here, press trajectory, and I now have a default trajectory that is going to be correct even with the changing weather. But still, if I want to use this turret for any of the other targets, I now have to do a manual calculation, and let's say 540, 997, 13, single shot, and put my turret at 3.8. So as you see, this is a fairly slow way of doing it. So I'm lining up the rifle, putting myself straight behind it. Natural point of aim. It's fine. Okay, is that clear enough? And as you saw, the trajectory is now pretty perfect. Now we're just going to switch barrels. We'll go back to the 6.555 and we'll shoot a volume. And we'll see if we are able to provoke a zero shift from the scope mount. Okay. Well, it was certainly not possible to deduce anything from observing the target, so we'll take some film of the scope mount on the side here and we'll merge the before and after pictures and see if we can detect any movement via the computer. I think that was enough for today. We'll just pack up and go home. We have other things to do. Okay, see ya.
Subscribe to the THLR channel by clicking the left logo icon, so you'll be shooting straighter than a drunk skunk before the sun shines over northern Norway.